Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for showing out this evening. Hello. Well, listen, I got here a little late this evening. Too late to leave the official guest list where it belongs, on the door. So I know a few people in the Bradford area, and if they got to pay to get in, my life won't be worth living. So now I'm going to have to read the official guest list right here from the stage. It's not ideal, I know, but it's in your interest to pay attention. I know what you're thinking here. Would it kill these people to buy a ticket? I feel your pain. Well, I had a word with them beforehand, and yes, apparently it would. So now I got to read out the official guest list right here from the stage, ladies and gentlemen. It's in your interest to pay attention, because if your name ain't on this list, well, I'm afraid you're going to have to buy a ticket, unless you already got a ticket, in which case you don't got to get a second ticket. I'm not a fucking animal. So please pay attention to the official guest list. And I've tried to make it as entertaining as I can. It wasn't difficult because most of the people I know in the Bradford area, their names rhyme with each other. Huh? What's the chances? Please listen carefully to the official guest list. Here's the Who's That Are You in It. Duke McGuinness and his photo finishers. Chandler Burr with a bucket of a murderer. Inhuman for a one-man racial slur. No. Better not forget her. Charlie Davidson and his Harley Davidson. J.R. Justice and the VIPs. Anybody who speaks Maltese. Excuse me. Jerry Hall, she's very tall from the Albert Hall, at all. Rob Lowe, Dr. No, Shemp, Larry and Mo. Nobody you'd know. Wayne Newton, his sister Fig. Roger Scruton and Mr. Big. Kenneth Anger, his sister Coat. Dripping pearls, draped in Stoke. The girl with the padlock up the throat. Get Carter, Sam Giancana. Jeffrey Archer and his sudden departure. Clint's Clarice Bilton. Little Milton from east of Sweden. Peter Stilson, Jack Shit and the Zeros, borderline unpleasant heroes, Jimmy Zilch and the Scandaleros, Billy Dos Sombreros, Zorba and his Hellenic Shapiros, Sad Clown and his tragic Pieros, Prince Baron, the Emperor Ming, Big Ted, the Kidney King, El Vengador, Ilos Vengadores, Little Ronaldo, his sister Dolores, her cakes are very Moorish. Admit anybody who knows my brother, but anybody who says she's the mother of any child I might have sired who ain't my wife, and yet she's wired. If you're letting her, I'm afraid you're fired. I'm mugging you off as I make this mark. Authenticated by Dr. John Cooper Clarke. It's official. It's official. It's official. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've circumnavigated the globe 10 times now, reciting poetry all the way. And I get asked a lot of questions I can't often answer. Questions I can't answer. But whatever the question, like I'll tell you a few of those questions I can't answer. What is occasional furniture the rest of the time, for instance? Except scratch that off the list of questions I can't answer. What is occasional furniture the rest of the time? Periodic tables. Apparently. But there's plenty more of those questions I can't answer. If Jesus was Jewish, why the Spanish name? Questions I can't answer. And whatever the question, I always answer in the existential. Why? Because I'll level with you. I'm an existentialist. Most of my friends are existentialists. Well, it's company for me. So whenever I'm asked any question at all, I answer in the existential. It's a knee-jerk reaction, Pavlovian. I turn into a meringue. Not really. I was trying to be flip. The point is, I'm an existentialist, so I answer every question in the existential. For instance, I've circumnavigated the globe 10 times now, reciting poetry all the way. I think we've established this, and I get asked a lot of questions. This is always the first question I'm asked. Dr. Clarke, how did you get here? Well, I answer in the existential, obviously. for the aforereferenced reasons. How did I get here? Same as anybody else, I suppose. My mother and father loved each other very much. They went courting, then they got engaged, then they got married. One thing led to another. Nature took its course. Bingo. Same as anybody else, I guess. Why ask? There you go again, Dr. Clarke, off on your existentialist tangent once more. When we posited the question, how did you get here, we really just wanted to ascertain what method of transport you employed. Well, why didn't you say so? In that case, in the best kind of car known to man, and that car is, no, not a ladder. The difference between a ladder and a Jehovah's Witness, you can shut the door on a Jehovah's Witness. No, the best kind of car to drive, obviously, is a hire car for these very reasons, ladies and gentlemen. Like this. These are the social advantages inherent in the rented vehicle as itemized hereunder. Double park, don't lock the door, push the pedals through the floor, give it loads and then some more. It's a hire car, baby. Grip the stick, grind the gears, watch that distance disappear, never be yours in 1,000 years. It's a hire car, baby, hire car, hire car. Why would anybody buy a car? Bang it, prang it, say ta-ta. Hire car, baby. Try not to kill yourself or injure anybody else. Don't forget to fasten your belts, rent it, dent it, bang it, prang it, bump it, dump it, scorch it, torch it, crash and burn it. Don't return it, lost deposit, let him earn it, who cares, it's on the firm, it's a hire car, baby. Hire car. Thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah, baby. I've been taking out of commissions here since I last was in Bradford. Nothing will get you writing poetry like money. Inspiration, schminspiration. Business is business, and with that in mind. But you know, a lot of the time when I took on these, you know, because when you're doing an advert or something like this, you're being paid for it. There's a right way and a wrong way, ladies and gentlemen. There is a customer to satisfy. And every time I take on one of these commissions, I've got to say, somebody up there likes me, because it turns into a standalone piece. I'll try and sort of read this. This is very recent. I wrote this for it's the 70th anniversary of independent television. Commercial television is 70 years old this year. And I was called upon to record this momentous period in verse. And you know, it's kind of wrote, I love that. I love ITV. You know, I've always, I even sounded out, everybody I ask, of course, I'm in the flaky world of show business and art. So everybody I ask, you know, do you watch ITV? Oh, no, really, no. You know, but they're very snarky about it. But, you know, I'll say it in one word, mind. That wouldn't have happened under Lord Reith. And here's a poem to prove it, right? Written on demand. I hope you like it too. Everybody's got their favourite ad. And you know, after I'd written this poem, I vox popped it amongst all kinds of people. And I said, you watch ITV? Nah, it's the adverts, it puts me off. But you know, I mean, ITV is not as bad as all the channels I watch, where it's all Freeview, you know, where it's all gimmick funerals and whatnot. In fact, I've got my own business. It's a win of this. You watch those gimmick funeral ads on Channel 82 and whatnot. You know, it was a right no fuss and bother type, our John. We threw his body in a skip and said, bought a speedboat with the money we saved. He would have wanted it that way. Anyway, mine's like this. Go to Blazers. I beg your pardon. Blazers. No muss, no fuss, just turn to dust at Blazers. The creme de la crematoria. It's a winner, isn't it? Strong contender. But anyway, here we are. I love ITV and all the adverts. And then I said, surely, mate. And they said it's the adverts. They get on. We never watch ITV because of the adverts. Well, I said, well, you must have your favourites. Everybody's got a favourite ad. And so they all came up. And I'd already written it. And every advert they referenced, I'd already put in this number. Anyway, here it is. I'll stop spieling about it and give you the number. So it's called Old Square Eyes is Back. Get it? Where's Sinatra when you need him? Okay. Have it your way, baby. Here it is. Old Square Eyes is back. Where would we be without ITV? At the mercy of the BBC, at the mercy of the Reithian degree. No advertising on the licence fee. But how would we know where to go or what to wear when we get there without commercial breaks to put you in the know about night starvation and sugar puff bear? The caffeinated love affair. The caffeinated love affair, the bottomless coffee pot, the ex-Bel Air, Bel Air, Bel Air, Bel Air, Bel Air, Bel Air has a flair for her. Granada, I fell under your spell. Oh yeah, bloody hell. Granada, I fell under your spell. Reassuringly expensive Stella Artois. Endorsed by movie stars, cars, bras and crunchy bars. Mashed potatoes all the way from Mars. Where would we be without ITV? And the advert breaks that come for free, like a chimpanzee with a pot of PGT, plus time for a pee. A world of leisure, amplified pleasure, then a voyage to the bottom of the sea. In a trans-orange Ford Capri. A trans-orange Ford Capri, yes, a trans-orange Ford Capri. Man-made fibrous fitted carpets, luxury you can afford. Who cornered the market? Why, the Matman, Cyril Lord. From Preston Town to Gotham City, he would not be ignored. His operatic jingle struck that sympathetic chord. Wall to wall, yes sirree, Cyril Lord, chairman of the board with the help of ITV. Hot like a tropical breeze and cooler than the deepest freeze. Granada, the bee's knees. Bird's eye peas, squeezable cheese, and the Beatles, yes please. And those trans-orange Ford Capris, they don't grow on trees. I don't know. You tell me, where would we be without ITV? Just saying. Just saying. In the words of Alan Titchmarsh, there's just one more little job. Before I invite, before the Q&A, but I'm going out on this one. This is the one that really got me off the ground in the show business world via the beatnik fraternity all those years ago. I used to live opposite a movie theatre, the Rialto in High Broughton, Salford 7, Manchester inner city location. And I would always scope what was on this week through my binoculars on the marquee that went around the Art Deco corner of the Rialto. And this was the longest movie title I'd ever seen. So I figured it's what I do. I wrote a poem about it. I said, yeah, I've never seen a movie title that long. This was before they brought out It's a mad, 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 mad world. This was before then, so this was the longest movie title. And I better tell you what that title was. That title was I Married a Monster from Outer Space. And so I figured, thank you, so I figured, you know, it's the longest movie title I've ever seen, I thought. And then I thought, you know, it had one of them tabloid expose kind of things about it, didn't it? You know, I Married a Monster. I thought, how would that end? What if? What if? So anyway, so it was, I wrote the thing, and but I wrote it down just to record this, the longest movie title I'd ever seen up until that. Movies were my life at that point, 1958. So I wrote this poem, and then 20 years later, this one was adopted by the Rock Against Racism people because of its reference to racial prejudice therein. You know, but I didn't write it for those reasons. But I was, you know, I watched the tea time news, you know, and I was aware of the civil rights struggle in the southern states. However, that's not why I wrote it. I wrote it because it was the longest movie title I'd ever seen. But so I better tell you what that title is and then do the poem. The title is I Married a Monster from Outer Space, goes like this. The Milky Way, she shifts around, all 3 feet firmly off the ground. 2 worlds collide, 2 worlds collide. Here comes the future bride. Give me a lift to the lunar base. I want to marry a monster from outer space. I fell in love with this alien being whose skin was jelly, whose teeth were green, big bug eyes. Excuse me. Big bug eyes, pale black hair, feet like flippers and cubic hair. I was over the moon. I asked her back to my place. And then I married the monster from outer space. We walked out, tentacle in hand. You could sense these earth mothers would not understand when we got on the bus saying it's extraterrestrial, not one of us. Bad enough with another race, but me, a monster from outer space. A cybernetic fit of rage. She off to another age. She lived beyond recorded time with a new boyfriend, a blob of slime. Every time I see a translucent face, I remember the monster from outer space. That's the one that got me started. Thank you so very much. Thank you. And now we got a conversation with my good friend Nihal. Here he is right now. Nihal, please come here. Marvelous. Any questions? Thank you. Is that yours, Nihal, or is that yours?
That's yours. That's definitely your gin and tonic.
Okay, I'll take
That's
that.
definitely your gin and tonic.
I put my my towel on the wrong sun lounge.
Oh. Absolute genius. Another round of applause, please, for John Cooper Clarke. What a guy.
Yeah, thank you.
What a guy.
Thank you.
What a
Thank you
guy.
very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Now, you once came on stage and you said, hello, Sheffield, or as I like to call you, the Glasgow of Yorkshire.
Did I say that?
You did say that, and it
For the
didn't go
People's
down as well as
Republic.
it's just gone down here in this room.
That's right. It's the People's Republic of Yorkshire, isn't it? As I've encapsulated in my poem, Sheffield. Yeah, the People's Republic of Sheffield.
But you did do a poem about Burnley, or started off.
I did that. I'm very inspired by geography, it seems. But I'm not the only one, you know.
What's the key to getting a crowd on side, especially in your early days, when you're in the punk scene and there are kind of notoriously any punks in here tonight? You wouldn't go woo if you were a punk. Just to be clear. You'd sneer aggressively at me. But there you go, that was a punk.
Now that's a punk.
Now that's a punk, right, yeah.
Ça, c'est de la punk.
So how did you get crowds on side? What was the key to it early doors? Because you're a poet supporting punk bands.
That's right, but before that I'd been doing cabaret joints in Manchester, and as I say in my book, the first guy to give me money for doing what I do was Bernard Manning. So once you had that under your belt, it was like you could play anywhere. So that's the world I was. This is pre-punk, it's about 1975, obviously, pre-punk, and so I would kind of dress in the way that I thought that a man o' the people kind of poet in an urban setting, you know, through a showbiz medium might dress. And my template was Anthony Newley in the movie The Small World of Sammy Lee. So, Moddy, three-piece, mohair suit, tonic suit. And all this was right out of favour in 1975. You couldn't have looked more anachronistic if you tried. But that was the way I perceived a nightclub poet. So would have to look. That was the nightclub uniform as far as I had really short sort of feather cut, suede head haircut. And then I was working this well. I was met with complete indifference most of the time, but I was actually earning money doing it. But it was uphill all the way, and I became quite kind of thick-skinned about it all. But so by the time that punk came along, it held no terrors for me, because I'd met with a poet's worst enemy is indifference. People are already indifferent to poetry. So indifference is your arch enemy. And I got to tell you about when I got I suppose I better tell you about how I got the job at Bernard Manning's Embassy Club.
Yeah.
And it was, I'd done a benefit show on the strength of I Married a Monster from Outer Space. I was perceived to be a kind of socially minded, kind of, bohemian beatnik type, which was fine with me. I like beatniks, I thought beatniks were kind of pretty glamorous. And I fancied this chick called Chris Peel, who wore a cloak and carried a Spanish guitar over her shoulder and wore sunglasses inappropriately. And I read her this thing, and she was really kind of right behind that sort of, struggle for racial equality. Very early doors. This is like 1964, 65, 60. And I got to that, I was following her around like a stalker, like a goddamn stalker. I was a couple of years younger than her. But when I reconnected with her was in a coffee bar called the Prego in Manchester. And there she was, same as ever, glamorous as ever. And she kind of had that Nico-y kind of thing, those kind of chicks always went for me. But I was just too young at the time. So anyway, I'd written I Married a Monster from Outer Space, and I said, and she was into poetry. I said, I write poetry. The best thing I could think of to say, I write poetry. It wasn't an out-and-out lie. So I did I Married a Monster from Outer Space, and it had all that pop art thing about it as well, the trashy aesthetic of drive-in movies, that were looked down upon in this country, but, pop art, you know what I mean? That was a big thing at this time, it was very serendipitous. So I touched all those bases of referencing what was seen as trash movies, but making a serious point with the, me a monster from outer space line, another race, So that got me in her good books. And she recruited me to do this this benefit show for a left-wing pacifist magazine, beatniks. What are you going to do? So, it was an audience, and maybe I won't be met with the same indifference. I've got to tell you about my audition for Bernard before I get on to Chris Peel for this.
Because he told you it wasn't going to work in the Embassy Club.
That's right. I did the benefit right, and my dad, who was always very discouraging about me choosing to be a professional poet.
Funny that. Yeah.
Poetry has never been regarded as a reliable engine of wealth in the working class. So my dad's like, where are you going to do this stuff? Who's going to listen to it and all this? So I'm saying, Stanley Holloway, and all these people that didn't really sing, Well, yeah. Anyway, yada, yada, yada. So I did this benefit for this chick that I was sweet on, and on the strength of being an anti-racist firebrand, I got the
Best
gig.
type of anti-racist.
I got the gig. And so I told my dad, I'm going to be reciting. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I digressed. Bernard Manning. So I said, I'm a poet, Mr. Manning. I do monologue types things. Wondered if you'd give us 10 minutes or something. I went in the afternoon when he was watering down the optics. I knew he'd be there. I knew he'd be there, and I'd catch him without a crowd around him. And I was right. So I says, can I do 10 minutes, Mr. Manning? I'm a massive fan. My dad before me, hilarious. Can you give us a gig? I didn't say gig, the word didn't exist then. Can you give me 10 minutes? He says, what are you, poetry? Oh, he said, they don't like poetry around here, kid. He says, half of them can't fucking read. So I said, well, it's nothing too highfalutin. It's, so I give him a demo of a more recent poem that I'd written about the Ritz. Now, Bernard Manning entered show business as a singer with the Oscar Rabin dance band, and they did all the Mecca ballrooms all around the country, and beyond. Very respectable band, and he was a really good singer. But when he heard Elvis, when he heard Heartbreak Hotel, this is why. He's a very finger on the pulse guy. He heard Elvis on the radio, and he quit the band. Pay me up. It's finished for this kind of music. So, quite an astute character. Anyway, so I figured I might be in with a chance. So, he said, no, half of them can't fucking read. Nothing too highfalutin. So I'd just written this poem called Salome, which takes place in a Mecca ballroom in Manchester called the Ritz. It was the top of the range ballroom, just the sort of place that Bernard would have appeared at, in his crooning days. So I wrote this thing anyway. I'll give you the line. He says, "Give us a demo then." So I've just written this thing with Salome. It's about the Ritz and that, So all right, give us a demo. So I'll give him the couplet that I thought he might go for, and it's about a punch-up on a dance floor. Oh yeah, I was there before Sophie Ellis Bextor, mate.
Punch up on the dance floor.
Punch up on the dance floor, yeah. So I wrote in the two money shot, the money shot rhyme. I says, when the ambulances came, she was lying on the deck. She fell off her stiletto heels and broke her fucking neck. So anyway, he took his, that's the Ritz all over that. He says, all right, then, give you 10 minutes, you got it right there, kid. But he gave me a chance. It didn't work out, but I still got paid. I was met with the buzz of conversation, total disinterest, just like Bernard said it would be. He tried to warn me. But I still got paid. He was a straight ahead guy. That possibly the last one I would ever meet.
That sets a low bar for show business, doesn't it?
I did that. But the reason I did Bernard was, as I say, because I said my dad, I'd done this benefit for this beatnik rag, and oh yeah, how much did you get for that? No, it was a benefit, Dad. Everybody was giving their services for nothing. Nobody got paid. Well, then he said anybody would pay you for nothing, would employ you for nothing. And with that in mind, that's when I approached Bernard. I thought, well, who would my dad recognise as a successful northern show business character? And it was a no-brainer. It was Bernard Manning. So that's why I took my services to the Embassy Club. But like I say, it was met with supreme indifference, and that's a poet's worst enemy. So what I'm getting, it's a long way around the subject, but what I'm saying is, after such indifference, punk rock held no terrors for me. So because I was trying to look like a cabaret artist, and in a 3-button suit, with short hair. I was advised by a close neighbour, a man called Howard Devoto, who was then the singer with the burgeoning Buzzcocks, sang on their first EP. You know, a real mover and shaker. He put the Sex Pistols on at the Lesser Free Trade Hall, for instance. You know, so he was a big hitter in the world of punk rock. And I wasn't ignorant of the world of punk rock. I was a massive fan of the Ramones. So I'd heard of punk rock before the Sex Pistols ever happened, you know, but obviously I was a massive fan of all that sort of thing. And my thing was, you know, the more the merrier, you know. When you're reading poetry, you know, it's better to read it to a crowd. Otherwise, it's just nothing. You know. So the more the merrier, and that's where all the people were going to the punk rock venues. And the fact is, you know, that I didn't look like a hippie. Everybody in the world looked like a hippie except me and Howard Devoto and Johnny Rotten. So he said, you'd fit right in, you know, and what with your high-speed poetic delivery, you know, that's what they're going for, Johnny, you know, and thank God for Howard Devoto, and I jumped in right away.
John, nobody looked like you. I mean, you described yourself
Have
as
you seen Howard Devoto?
No, that's true. I haven't seen Howard Devoto. That's true, but you described yourself as looking like a haunted pencil.
A haunted
pencil.
Well, I got approached once. You know these times when that haunted, you trip something up there. You know those times when you kind of 10 years, somebody says something to you, makes you look like a c***, and then 10 years later, you think of what you should have said. Everybody does that 1,000 times in a lifetime, don't they, you know? But, and you know, you could live a lifetime and never come back with anything adequate, couldn't you? But it's only ever happened twice for me where I actually, at the time, came out with something that was adequate. You know, and the first one was, I was in... It was in Manchester on licensed premises, and there was some guy, you know, and he had his missus there and his sister-in-law or something, you know. So he had a fucking go. He says, this was like 1972 or something, you know. He said, how much do you charge for haunting houses? You know, with the cadaverous complexion and the emaciated frame. And how much do you charge for haunting houses? How many rooms have you got? The first time, the second time was a bit more on top, you know, but it wasn't particularly funny, but it got what I wanted, you know. I was doing this recital in Milton Keynes. I can't remember the name of the theatre, the biggest theatre in Milton Keynes anyway. So it's always very windy in Milton Keynes because of the grid pattern structure of the roads and the high buildings. It plays havoc with the air currents. And I remember this from my mother's tower block, you know. There's always a gale force wind when you got a tower block, and there's a lot of tower blocks near this theatre. So it was like, so I got in there, I'm looking a bit disheveled. So always my first port of call, you know, in a situation like that, is the disabled lavatory. You know, you're not going to get disturbed. There are mirrors in there, you know, and I look around to see if there's anybody in greater need, you know. Obviously, I'm not a fucking monster. So I went in there, started myself, you know, straightened myself out, you know, and made myself presentable to the public. And I came out, and just as one of the officials there, he says, you don't look disabled. What are you doing? Right. If it had left it at you don't look disabled, I would have just, you know, but what are you doing? You don't look disabled. What are you doing? So it requires an answer, you know, in order to get away and forget about it, you know. haven't done anybody any harm. There was nobody waiting when I came. You don't look disabled. What are you doing? Just keeping the dream alive. The only 2 times where I thought of something on the spot. Yeah.
How did tuberculosis aid you in the absorption of literary works?
Well, that's an intelligent question, Nihal, in that I'm glad I got tuberculosis after I'd achieved literacy. Because to me, that's what... In fact, the life I live now is not that much different from the life I lived when I was a consumptive poet. I just read or watch the telly. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, if you're a poet, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Idleness is your best friend.
Yes.
If you're right.
There's a lot to be said for that. Yes.
And it's not that easy to achieve.
No, it's not.
Everybody's got some kind of job for you. Have you got kids? Try to convince kids you're not just staring into space.
So you had a lot of time to be idle.
Not enough. Otherwise, you would be swimming in John Cooper Clarke literature. No. I tell you, I'm burdened with a conscience. If I see somebody struggling, I've got to help. That. I'm missing that handicap gene. Stay on the couch.
So you absorbed so many books because you had this time, and also you got out of going to school.
Well, that was the main thing. That was a gift from God. I hated school. Now even this is too close to a school for me. I don't fucking like it. I don't like the didactic atmosphere. I'm not saying that I'm some kind of know-all that knows more than the professors or anything. Although I have been told I could teach the professors by a very learned man. Perhaps more about that later. However, they give me the creeps. Schools. They give me the creeps. Anything where anybody is trying to impart. But you can't be an autodidact because you can't teach yourself what you don't already know. You can.
I'd say 60% of the audience baffled by that.
How can you teach yourself anything that you don't already know? Well, I don't know. A lot, but somehow. A lot somehow.
You need to focus the questions a bit more.
By accident. Anything I know, it's an accident. On somebody's part, yeah. But there's nothing worse than a half-educated person. And, obviously I try to bone up on same as anybody living person in this room,
But that lack of a formal education didn't hold you back at all, did it?
No, I don't think it did. I think it did me a favour there. No, I don't think it did. I've met people that I used to go to school with. They ain't no smarter than I am. I've never used logarithms ever since I fucking left. I didn't know what they were then. I don't know what they were now. It's not a life-threatening situation. Everything they taught has been fucking rendered obsolete anyway. So I think I did the right thing getting TB.
So how old were you when you packed secondary school in? Where you just gave up and went into
15.
the world of work? And you went straight to the world of work?
15, straight into a job, yeah.
Is it you wanted to be a poet, or your lifestyle that you created for yourself was best suited to be a poet?
Well, no, I wanted all the things that every poet I knew about revered.
Such as?
Idleness, the habit of gentleness, mild intoxication, even in the afternoon. You know, a kind of crepuscular existence, really, whereby Baudelaire was my biggest influence. You know, I used to read about the lives of the poets, you know, the guy that lived by night, because even, you know, I don't know whether it's anything to do with having tuberculosis, but until now, in my later years, you know, I do pour l'ensemble, je me couchais de bonne heure. But it wasn't always the case. You know, I was a real night owl. I was a night owl at a time when the television finished at 12:30. And so I had to read a lot of stuff. And then I was an insomniac. I was you know, the laziest. I'm not the laziest person in the world. One guy I knew, he was so idle, he was an insomniac bedwetter.
Just so
lazy bastard.
On the topic of intoxication, did you feel that being intoxicated made you a better poet?
It made me a better person. I was a pain in the ass unless I was sedated. Yeah. Even I got sick of myself, I swear to God. I was on all kind of medication when I had the tuberculosis. So, you know, when later in life I got acquainted with the Chinaman's nightcap in a recreational milieu, you know, it was like going home to me. So I recognized this, yeah. Why did I ever stop? You know, and that's where the problem began, you know. But I was very familiar with that kind of opiated state. And, of course, the opiated state is very conducive to afternoon drowsiness, the level of afternoon drowsiness that I found necessary to carry on with my chosen profession.
There are some who try and romanticize drug
I think
use.
I'm doing that for them here.
Yeah, yeah, you are. Yeah.
I miss those days. I love that shit.
But you have written in the book
I can't believe
about.
I'm still clean. I swear to God, I thank God every day of my. It ain't me doing it.
But those days in Hume Crescent in Manchester with Nico from the Velvet Underground, living that kind of life.
Well, that was in Brixton when Nico moved in on me, actually.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
But she did live close to me when I lived in Manchester also, and she used to do a lot of shows at the where the factory started out was a place called the Russell Club in Moss Side, which was a social club for Manchester's transport workers, who were actually, you know, mainly West Indian. So it was a reggae venue, and Tony Wilson hired it out 3 times a week for kind of punk. I think Iggy Pop played there and all kind of people. David Johansen, Iggy Pop. Yeah, it was a real good joint. That.
Haven't you been hanging out with Iggy Pop recently?
Well, no, I'm not hanging out with him, but because we're both very old, so you know we know when to go home. But we were on the same festival. We were on the same festival in Dublin actually about 3 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, and of course I'm his deputy on Six Music. Whenever he doesn't do it, I do it on the 4 to 6 slot on BBC Six Music. But yeah, we're kind of, you know, hands across the sea. And, you know, I love that guy. He gave me a shout out, same as I give him a shout out. We were a kind of mutual kind of appreciation society over there in the Emerald Isle. Yeah, but he's a wonderful guy. You know, I love Iggy. I love him. I see that Matt Helders is regularly playing drums for him when he isn't playing with his compadres in the Arctic Monkeys. He seems to be working with the Igster. Just saying. What's that? Yeah, exactly. Well, the Republic of South Yorkshire,
Yeah.
Sheffield,
Yeah.
Steel City.
From the
It's
Glasgow of Yorkshire.
Steel City. I love Sheffield. I love Sheffield, man. Richard Hawley. I love that guy.
Richard Hawley.
Sensational.
So your musical career, Tony Wilson wanted you to sign to Factory Records. You said no, and you signed to CBS, I believe. Why?
Well, it wasn't up to. That's the first time I ever got management. I don't know why that was, but I didn't have a problem with it. You know, it was a major label, and you know, the burden of proof at that time was really on Factory Records. You know, they came out of nowhere, and I was looking for the main chance. You know, I was the kid that wanted in. I wanted a quick success. I didn't know how long I could write this. And all that, you know, so I was like jumping for the jelly beans. And when my management, Rabid Records, recommended that I sign up to CBS, well, who was I to argue? Also, I was the plaything of an idle hour, really, for that label. But the person that made it happen was the head of CBS England, Maurice Oberstein, who was, you know, a New York hotshot that had been, you know, working in Tin Pan Alley since year zero, and if he was kind of asking personally for me to sign up with them, then, you know, what did I know? I was, 25 or something at the time, so it seemed like just something I never dreamed would ever happen to me. You know, I mean, I'm enthralled to the whole American pop dream, you know, and of sudden wealth. You know, one of my heroes as a child was Paul Anka, you know, the youngest tycoon, a 15-year-old millionaire, you know, straight after Elvis. And he wrote his own songs, you know, and he wasn't even from the States, he was from Ottawa, you know. But then he moved in no time, in 2 years he moved into Vegas, you know. So those are the people that I was looking at when I was trying to make a success of this meager thing, you know. I mean, I don't have music on my side. I'm not a musician, you know. I wish I was. I love music. In fact, you know, my poetry is more inspired by the lyrics of the Great American Songbook and you know, the kind of Chitlin circuit kind of R&B that Lieber and Stoller, for instance, were writing for Elvis and the Coasters and people like that, you know, from, you know, that kind of absolutely, totally American. That's me right from the start. You know, they were the people I would read all obsessively about them. But Paul Anka, I guess, was the nearest age to me, and he was a millionaire already. You know, he deserved every penny of it. You know, beautiful, prodigiously soulful voice, and he wrote his own songs. They weren't Shakespearean, but who is at 15? But they were great. He wrote, I've got to say, he wrote Lonely Boy. His first hit was obviously Diana. And, but the follow-up was just as strong. And it was, I'm just a lonely boy, lonely and blue. I'm all alone with nothing to do. I got everything. Yes, thank you. You can think of, but all I want is someone to love. Someone, yes, someone to love. Someone to kiss. Someone to hold at a moment like this. Anyway, so he wrote that, and then he got, get out of here.
Go on.
Get out of here. But he wrote that. He wrote that, and he always said, it ain't Shakespeare, but it ain't nothing. And then 2 years later, when he was moving with the Rat Pack, he was at the Dunes. I've got a photograph of, and the then Cassius Clay, as he was known at the time, Cassius Marcellus Clay. It showed him, he's pinned this kid against the wall, you know, and he's saying, you Paul Anka, you write Lonely Boy. But he didn't leave it at that. He sang the entire song right in his face, right in his face. And Cassius Clay was a terrific singer. He did a cover of Stand By Me in 1962. You know, real good. His best friend was Sam Cooke.
How many times have you been mistaken for Roy Orbison?
Hey, I wish. Yeah. That's a very off the wall question. But I love that guy. But I love that guy, yeah, I love Roy Orbison.
And meeting Bob Dylan, what was that like?
I've never met Bob Dylan.
You have?
I've never met Bob Dylan.
I've read that you've met Bob Dylan.
I've never met Bob Dylan, Nihal. I must have been bullshit.
You would know more than me, to be fair, if you met Bob Dylan or not. But I'd read you'd met Bob Dylan and you were very nervous and you couldn't speak to
Well, I
him.
would have been, but
But I met him.
had I met Bob Dylan.
That is the question, yeah.
No, I don't even wish I had. You know, it's like you say. What would you say? You know, he's a notably cryptic kind of person. But no,
Have you
I
ever
tell
been
you,
nervous?
if I'd have met Bob Dylan, it would have been the first thing I would have told you when I sat down. Hi, my name's John Cooper Clarke. I've met Bob Dylan.
Okay,
Not the kind of thing you keep a secret, is it?
So have you ever been really nervous meeting anyone?
I don't know whether I'm endowed with supreme self-confidence, but I'm racking my. I'm sure it must have happened. I would have been if I'd have known that it was Chet Baker. But I didn't know it was Chet Baker when I met him. I didn't find out it was Chet Baker till 30 years later.
What was New York like when you first got there?
Let me tell you about Chet Baker.
Okay, you just tell me about Chet Baker then. That's fine.
Can't do Bob Dylan.
That's fine.
But
You're in
Chet Baker,
charge.
I'm sorry, Nihal.
No, you're in charge,
no,
dude.
I don't want to step all over your routine.
Dude, I'm here for you. We're all here for John Cooper Clarke. You say whatever you want.
No, that's
Chet
fine.
Baker.
Yes, well, Nico and I used to, you know, I must, you know, I can't take for granted that everybody in the room knows who Nico is, but she was a winsome folk beatnik singer on the Immediate label run by Andrew Lou Goldham in 1965. That's the first time I became aware of her, and she was on Ready, Steady, Go, the mod show, you know, but she looked this winsome, you know, and she was obviously European, you know, she kind of sang with that. Do you know who she is? Anybody know who Nico is? But she had this lovely record, I'm Not Saying. And, you know, she was a real big hitter, Euro-wise. She'd been married to Alain Delon. She knew Federico Fellini, John Coltrane, Miles Davis. Bob Dylan wrote a song for her. Bob Dylan wrote a fucking song for her. So there we are, a remove. My mate Bob. Yeah, I'm not alone in my enthusiasm for Nico here. Yeah. But he wrote this lovely song, come on now, give it to me. I'll keep it with mine. It's called I'll Keep It With Mine. Beautiful song. And you know that song, she's got everything she needs. She's an artist, she don't look back. She belongs to me, you know that one? She got everything she needs. She's an artist, she don't look back. Take the dark out of the nighttime. Paint the daytime black. You don't know that one, no? Start out standing. You better say you know it or I'm going to fucking carry on. But anyway, that's Nico. That's his ode to the Ice Queen. That was Nico, adopted by Andy Warhol at the factory and installed into the Velvet Underground. Memorably, she didn't do many songs with the Velvets, but the ones that she did do are unforgettable. All Tomorrow's Parties, Femme Fatale, I'll Be Your Mirror. You don't need any more than that. Wonderful. And anyway, I was very, before she even moved in with me, you know, we were doing shows together. And we did a show in the Paradiso in Amsterdam. Very easy to get dope there. And she said, there was me and her and her bass player that was into, registered drug addicts. And she said, give me your money. Give me your money. I have a great connection. I have a great connection. We won't have to wait for him. He will be waiting for us. So that never happens. That never happens. I'll refer you to her friend, Lou Reed. He's never early. He's always late. First thing that you learn is that you always gotta wait. I'm waiting for my man. So, she more than anybody should have known the lyrics to that song, So she's trying to convince me he will be waiting for us. In a perfect world. So I thought, well, why not? I thought she only lived round the corner from me. We were being paid by the same people and all this, So how far can she run? So I gave her all my money. I got a sub and give it. And I was all like, well, we all know people in Amsterdam, Nick. It's heroin central. But she's, no, you will be better. So all right, okay. So we got there and he wasn't there. We got there. What's all? You said. I could have sorted us out in 3 minutes.
Now,
you said. Anyway, so he shuffles in the middle of the argument. This guy shuffles in. He looks like Geronimo's ugly kid brother. He's got a bandana, no teeth at the front, shuffling in, long greasy hair. And this is, I don't really anybody have ever seen a picture of Chet Baker. But he was like the James Dean of modern jazz. He had the perfect blonde. He was sensational. He could sing like a motherfucker. It was unbelievable. He fucked his way around the world, even on junk. And that ain't easy. That ain't easy. He was in demand. And, pretty boy. So, that's the memory I had of Chet Baker. The memory I had of Chet Baker was the James Dean of modern jazz. So when this shuffling wreck, anyway, he spoke like he sings, because he's a great singer. He got his teeth knocked out in a junk fight with some gangsters, but he was carrying a band. So he was responsible for their income, but he couldn't play the trumpet. He was a trumpet player, but he couldn't play the trumpet. He had his teeth knocked out. He's lost his embouchure, that's very, those muscles that a trumpeter needs, but he had to he's carrying this band, this scratch band, and hey, Chet, we can't quit now. You can carry a tune. I heard you in the shower. You can carry a tune, and he's, I don't know. But he had to do something, so that's when his singing career began, just because of that. But when I met Chet, that was all over, and he comes shuffling in, and he was the guy that we were buying junk off, and he was like, and Nico, she wouldn't do that. If you met John Wayne, she wouldn't say, it is John Vane, a very good friend of mine. She'd be just like and she didn't do that. So she never said, it is Chet Baker. I would have been impressed to fuck, but she never said it. And then I found out 30 years later, this movie came out, directed by Bruce Weber, called Let's Get Lost. The story of Chet Baker. It's got like archive footage of when he was the James Dean of jazz and then later life. And he fell out of a window. He died. He fell out of it. He played on the last thing he did, he played on Shipbuilding by Elvis Costello. That was the last gig he did. And he went back to Amsterdam where junk was plentiful and cheap. And fell out of a high window and died. And that's when I knew, because we were in Amsterdam, that's where he was. But I said to my wife, I said, I bought skag off that guy. So that's about as hip. To me, that's hipper than meeting Bob Dylan. It was a long way around. It was a long way around, but
which I can now confirm never happened. John, you're going to do 2 more poems for us. One the whole world knows, and one the world has never heard before. Am I right?
That's right, Nihal.
Sorry,
yeah.
That's my book.
I did a lot of digressing there, Nihal, and I
No,
can
you
only
didn't.
apologise. I'm a real gas bag when you get me at it.
Can we just agree that every second spent in the company of John Cooper Clarke is worth it, right? Right?
Well, I hope
right?
so.
It goes everywhere it's meant to go.
I hope so, really. Thank you, Nihal. Really, I hope so. Yeah, you can do this one. Yeah. This is a work in progress, actually. No, it's all right. That's why I'm doing it.
Is it shit? What kind of...
Sneak preview. This is a sneak preview. This is the first time even I've ever heard this. Because, so it's about, recently I've been besieged by overwhelming grief over the loss of my precious friend. But even before that, I got we've all got underlying men. You know what they call when 2 old men meet each other, and you know what they call that conversation? An organ recital. With that in mind, here it is. All my friends, I lose, obviously at my age, my friends die on a weekly basis. I'm a very gregarious person. I had a lot of friends, but, diminishing crew. I could go to 7 funerals a week, but no man can live on vol au vents alone.
Just so good.
I'm going to struggle with this because it's scribbled out and it's it's crossings out here. Anyway, me and my shrinking crowd, each under our own personal cloud, with chivalrous charm we are over-endowed. Public farting ain't allowed. We're bone idle and proud, all the way to the waiting shroud. Me and my diminishing crew, too far gone to do the do. Here in God's priority crew, one by one we're turning blue. Me and my diminishing crew. Me and my an economic funeral or a free ride on the bus. Any other special offers don't apply to us. Me and my final friends, continually on the mend. When will it end? And when will we ever meet again? I guess it all depends on what the doctor recommends. The remnants of our cartel don't look very well. We've done the kind of knowledge you don't get in a college with a pub quiz team from hell. Me and my fading team, miasmic in the extreme, cool as a mountain stream, with a fragrance to furnish any feverish dream. Kiwi polish and brilliancy, senior service and shaving cream. Standards, mate, know what I mean? Muzak backing up every scene for me and my fading team. Jack, those cats were clean. Me and my fading team. Wait a minute, here's the director's cut with the happy ending. Me and my cryogenic crew. Walt Disney, Michael Jackson, and me too. The frozen chosen few. In 1,000 years, we'll be good as new. Me and my Do you like that, son?
Oh, my God.
Thank you very much. Very encouraging of you, this. because that's a work in progress. I only started it last night, so I'm an insomniac when my wife ain't around.
And John, would you like to step to Mike
Yeah,
to do your
absolutely.
last?
Are we doing I Wanna Be?
Yes.
Is that it? I Wanna Be Yours?
Would you like to hear I Want to Be Yours?
I bet you would. Oh, but they would. Wonderful. Here's another, but before I do, I Want to Be Yours. Here's another couple I wrote. Very topical, this. Very topical. We got a next door neighbour. She's got a cattery, you know, like that chick on The Simpsons. Cat throwing. Anyway, here it is. I heard I caught a bit of Radio 4, and there was this snooty kind of professor type who was trying to, you know, smash the urban myths that have bedeviled us for years and that. And he's saying, actually, you know, rats and mice don't particularly like cheese. I dropped whatever I was carrying, and I thought my whole world crumbled under my feet. I thought, are you fucking kidding? Not only do they like cheese, I'll tell you what kind of cheese they like. Emmental. Look in any trap. The stuff with holes in it. You know, you'd think Tom and Jerry had never existed. For this, we pay them money. I don't know. You tell me. Anyway, here's a poem to counteract that disillusion. Cheese is the food of a rat. Everybody knows that. That's why perhaps people put it in tracks, thus negating the need for a cat. Yeah, think about it. Think about it. It's not finished. It's not finished. It's a two-parter. While I'm on the... Don't get me started on cats. Dawn without a chorus. Suburban discontent. Ask any birder the reason for this non-event. Every cat's a murderer to a greater or lesser extent. It's a double-header. Double-header, cats. Catastrophe, I call it, that double-header. Anyway, we're going out on this one, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, my personal favourite, this one's done great business for me. 3.5 billion hits worldwide. It's the wedding favourite of the 21st century, international, and I mean it, man. My version goes thanks to my friends, the Arctic Monkeys from Sheffield, the People's Republic. Yeah, from the Republic of South Yorkshire, Sheffield, man. Steel City. It's a city of steel. I love those guys, but my version goes like this, and this one's. Well, this one was written directly from my heart to my loved one on the Feast of St. Valentine many years ago. My version goes like this. Thanks for listening this evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the lovely Nihal. Really, this guy, the guy with all the questions. Very intelligent questions. So this one's directly from my heart to my loved one on the Feast of St. Valentine. Went global, like this. It's called I Want to Be Yours. My version, like this. Let me be your vacuum... By the way, it's also the title of my memoir, which is on sale on the way out. Let me be your vacuum cleaner breathing in your dust. Let me be your Morris Marina, I will never rust. If you like your coffee hot, let me be your coffee pot. You call the shots. I want to be yours. Let me be your raincoat for those frequent rainy days. Let me be your dreamboat when you want to sail away. Let me be your teddy bear. Take me with you anywhere. I don't care. I want to be yours. Let me be your electric meter. I will never run out. Let me be the electric heater you get pneumonia without. Let me be that setting lotion that grips your skull with deep devotion, deep as the deep Atlantic Ocean. That's how deep is my devotion. A deep, 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 deep. I don't want to be hers. I want to be yours. Thank you very much for listening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for showing out. Thank you. Wonderful. Well, great job. Thank you.
That was so good.